Spooky fam!
We're back at it.
We are, and we're continuing the creepy locations and all of the hauntings that follow them. Um, the one that we are diving into today is not only creepy, it has a horrific and very messed up background as well that we will be covering. So definitely, that is going to be, there's going to be a lot discussed, a lot of not great things. Um, but it is the history of the location, so we're going to talk about it. Um,
Yeah, this place is got neglect from the state. It's got bad reputation for mistreatment, and it's definitely one of the most popular haunted attractions
mhm.
for paranormal investigators to go to.
Oh
It's
yeah,
one that's sought out from a lot of investigators. It's their main place they want to go,
oh yeah, and it
and
has
it's
a
in
haunt
my top
attraction
five.
now. Yeah, it has a haunt attraction now too, so that's also bringing in a lot of people. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's also in my top five as well, a place that I would like to definitely go visit.
But yeah,
Um,
this place here is definitely one of the scariest stories, I think, for places to go to, just because the amount of negative energy through the years of it being an asylum, what it can attract into a place.
right. For context, we are talking about Pennhurst, the Pennhurst Asylum, Pennhurst State Hospital. Um,
But before we go into this, we're going to reiterate 50 subscribers, you guys, and we'll be doing a haunted investigation for here on YouTube at Rhodes Hotel, which we will be talking about in 2 weeks.
let's go. I'm excited because we found this location. We were looking at we were looking at a map of like haunted places. Um and we found this one, and I also know nothing about this building, so I am excited to talk about it so I can learn.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive into Pennhurst.
During 8 decades of continuous operation from 1908 to 1987, Pennhurst evolved from a model facility into the subject of tremendous public scandal and controversy before the federal courts ordered it closed and the remaining residents moved elsewhere. 20 years after its closure, the Pennhurst campus was recognized as an international site of conscious, and its history became associated with a national and international disability civil rights movement. The Pennhurst story served as a reminder of Philadelphia and Pennsylvania's critical role in one of the great freedom struggles in contemporary history. It changed a lot with what happened there. Opened in 1908 as the Eastern Pennsylvania Institution for the Feeble Minded and Epileptic, there we go, but better known by its popular name, Pennhurst, was part of a national trend to segregate individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, then referred to as defective, degenerate, and unfit, from mainstream society. So we've talked about a place, and we will be talking about more, that have segregated people for illnesses, like physical illnesses, um, like illnesses in the sense of being sick, um, which is what we
Tuberculosis
talked about. Yeah,
cases.
which we talked about with tuberculosis, segregating them because they were sick and keeping them from their families. This is segregating people with mental disabilities. And the messed up thing is, it's not just having what most people think with mental disabilities. It's depression, anxiety, um, any sort of mental illness. They were all classified and thrown into this building just to keep you away from other people. And I know there was like, I can't remember what building or what facility, like back in the day, women with certain like what was it? I think it was like a long, long time ago. I think when we didn't have full grasp of like menstrual cycles and like all that came with that, that was considered a disability at one point and you were seen as crazy. Um this is literally just anything that doesn't seem of the norm.
Yeah. And like I said last week, our technology, our medical standards have drastically changed from the early 1900s, late 1800s to now, to where we know a lot more about the human brain.
Mhm.
We know a
Yeah.
lot more about the human health.
Right.
Does everyone know everything? No, but we know a lot more now.
Fearful that existing institutions at Elwyn outside of Philadelphia and Polk in Van- Venango, Venango County would be overwhelmed by what they saw as a rising tide of hereditary feeble mindedness. Philadelphia public health officials like Martin Barr, 1960 to 19 or 1860 to 1938, Joseph Neff, 1854 to 1930, and George Stanley Woodward, 1863 to 1952, joined other medical professionals in persuading the state legislature to provide relief through perpetual quarantine. Over 8 decades, more than 10,000 individuals resided at the 1,400-acre facility outside of Spring City in Chester County. At its peak, more than 3,000 people were in custodial care at Pennhurst. My brain stopped working with that sentence. Hello. Okay. By the late 1940s, a growing public movement spearheaded by family members and new groups like the Association ARC challenged administrative practices at Pennhurst and other such institutions. This movement was encouraged by a series of startling media exposés, none more compelling than Philadelphia newsman Bill Baldini, 1968 5-part television report entitled Suffer the Little Children. Film footage of half-clothed children wandering aimlessly on the ward, the sights and sounds of everyday institutional life, and Baldini's own sparse narrative revealed a hidden world of neglect. So it's bad enough that they are taking anyone who is seen out of the norm mentally, putting them in here. It's now overpopulated aggressively. Um, I'm assuming they don't have the funding as well to care for this many people because you have a max limit and they are way past that. I do believe they were shoving like way more people into rooms. People were wandering. I'm assuming probably the food and clothing wasn't up to par because I mean, it's a difference from only being technically being able to house 3,500 people and you have 10,000 plus people in this
Yeah.
building that you're having to care for. They It shouldn't have happened and they weren't prepared for it. One, so I can only imagine it was horrific. And then we're not even getting into like the real stuff that actually happened there with all of these people. It makes my
Well,
stomach turn.
the other thing is how much of it was the asylum's fault
Right.
too. They
Right.
weren't getting the funds. They weren't to build more rooms or anything else.
I wonder if it got to a point where it was like, oh, now we have all these people. We don't have a way to fund it or care for them, so just kind of like
Yeah, just
like that makes my heart hurt for every
they
person who
don't.
went through here.
Yeah, they didn't have the funds to pay for medical practitioners at the time. to help take care of the people. So it was very limited on who was working the grounds, doctors and other people. And it said right there that they seen children half clothed
Just
walking the
wandering.
premises.
Yeah, just wandering around.
So there's neglect right there because one, the children are just wandering around the premises without supervision at all. So
Right.
anything can happen. Two, they're half clothed, so they obviously don't have the funds or just don't care enough to make sure the children are clean clothed. And if they're not making sure they're clean clothed, food, what are they eating?
Right. Okay, I'm gonna reread this sentence because I feel like this is, a very important part that Baldini did discuss in his narrative. Um, so it says Baldini's own sparse narrative revealed a hidden world of neglect. So disturbing were conditions in institutions like Pennhurst that in 1985 U.S. Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall denounced the regime of state mandated segregation and degradation. That in its virulence and bigotry rivaled, indeed paralleled, the worst features of Jim Crow. Residents themselves, now called self advocates, soon joined the campaign for more humane treatment and equal protection under the law. Pennhurst figured prominently in several civil rights lawsuits filed in the 1970s, included the groundbreaking Halderman versus Pennhurst State School and Hospital. So I will talk about that. Okay. On May 30th, 1974, a class action lawsuit was filed on behalf of the current and former residents of Pennhurst Asylum. The lawsuit argued that patients' rights were violated at Pennhurst and that those who caused their suffering should be held responsible. After a 32-day trial, U.S. District Court Judge Raymond J. Broderick found that Pennhurst was indeed overcrowded, understaffed, and lacked the programs needed to care for residents. That's literally what we just talked about. That it was, in fact, overstaffed, or understaffed, overcrowded, and had the
And
lack of
under budget.
programs. Yeah. Oh, that's rough.
So
I can't even imagine being there at the time and just experiencing that. One, I can't even imagine that. And I can understand all of the energies that roam there now.
yeah.
It's different than, like, being at a house that has history and being at a state hospital that went through all of this and has all of this history.
So you're saying there was about 10,000 people there, right?
Mm-hmm.
They received a budget of $1.6 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's to pay their staff, their salary wages for the entire time, make sure they have resources, food, medicine, everything else, which is not cheap. Medicine, even today's day and age, medicine is not cheap at all.
No.
And clothing for each individual. So clothing for 10,000 people today, $1.6 million to get clean clothing for everyone, multiple pairs of clean clothing would not fit just 10,000 for 10,000 people.
No.
That little bit there, that $1.6 million
That's
would
gonna
not
be
do
a
it
huge chunk.
because you think that's spending for a week's of
I should say
clothing.
minimum, if we do minimum, like $20 a person, like this day
Yeah,
and age time.
that's $20 times 10,000. That's probably what 400,000.
Hold on. Listen, we're taking a moment so I can do quick math on my phone
That's $400,000 right there.
because I can't math.
or 200,000.
Yeah,
Sorry,
200,000.
200,000
200,000 minimum. Minimum. If
minimum
just
for
rough amount.
$200,000. That's just clothing. Then you got food for everyone.
Food, bedding, medical care, any sort of programs that they're doing for them, paying the staff, renovations, all of that.
Yeah, building new rooms
That's a
for
lot. That's with them having way over capacity. They were only supposed to house like 3,000 people.
yeah. The $1.6 million for 3,000 would have been a lot better, but they just kept shoving people into there, which is the big problem. It's overcrowded. That's gonna that drastically affect the mental stability of all the patients and the medical team,
Mhm.
the on-site medical teams, because everyone's going to need help. And say they had 20 medical people in house,
Mhm.
20 people trying to help 10,000.
Right. And that's just us hoping there were that many. We don't I mean I'm going to continue just cuz it's going to get into more of like the not great sides. Okay. He found that various forms of restraints were used as a result of lack of staff. So, lack of staff, it's less people you have to deal with if you confine them to their rooms or restrain them, which is horrific. Including seclusion rooms, physical restraints, and even psychotropic drugs. The environment of the building was found to be hazardous to the extent that it was not only not conducive to learning new skills, but is also so poor that it contributes to losing skills already learned. Residents were also found to be abused by other residents and staff.
Which happens with overcrowding.
Right. It's going into history of places because history is very important, um, especially when it comes to locations that have traumatic history. Us talking about it, bringing it to light, but sitting and actually like reading or learning about history of places, history of our history in general, and just going through it, analyzing it, looking at it, talking about it, and you realize like this is something that happened. This is not, a made up horrific story. This isn't us reading, a fictional story. This is something that people lived through. And
Yeah,
that makes my stomach hurt. That's horrific.
that's and I hit it right on the head there too. It was understaffed, under budget, so they didn't have any skills to be able to teach people.
Yeah,
No
and
skill sets.
that was one of the things that they were trying to do as well is to teach common skills to the people that they brought in.
Survivability.
Yeah,
You
but
want
you're not
everyone in there
able
to
to do
survive
that, and you're not able to help them retain skills that they've already learned.
with a low budget. It all comes back to a low budget too. The state under budgeted the place, and they weren't able to do anything with it. They just did the best with what they had, which was not good.
Okay, we have more information on Baldini when he reported there. Um, okay, the reporter who first broke the story about Pennhurst were completely horrified by the conditions. Bill Baldini, the young reporter who headed the story, said, "We started shooting and my crew was mortified. I mean, I had trouble keeping them on the job because they were literally getting sick from what they saw. Children were tied to beds, residents were emaciated and naked. Wards of infants and children from the age of 6 months to 5 years were clustered together in metal cages. Some people were even left to lie in their own waste for days on end. This abusive and negative energy left an imprint on Pennhurst and the land it sits on. This is evidenced by the amount of hauntings that are reported here." We'll do the hauntings in a second. Um, You have babies, babies
Metal cages.
in cages being restrained. That literally makes me sick to my stomach. From the age of 6 months to 5 years were clustered together in metal cages. And they're seeing this in real time. It makes me sick reading about it. I can't
Yeah,
even imagine being a part of this crew and seeing this.
that's mortifying to even visualize. Like getting the story is important because you need to let people out in the public know what's going on with their family members that went to Pennhurst. But man, I don't think I could have done that job that day. I would have. I gotta go.
Like, you're sending your family to a hospital hoping that they get help, hoping that they, progress. And now you're going to be seeing and or reading a news article about what it's actually like. That's devastating.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys come over by Discord? Over at Discord, we talk about all things spooky. In the Discord with you guys, we have community events that go on. We sit down, we do meditation sessions, past life regressions, and everything else like that. We also like to share spooky stories with each other. We have a cool tier system where you can become a uh, poltergeist, mimic, spirit, stuff like that, and is a great way if you have any ideas that you want us to talk about, you can reach out to us.
Yeah, and we have all of our socials available. You can check via our link tree, where you'll find our Instagram, Patreon account, TikTok account. We have a Twitter. Um, a lot of our behind the scenes stuff is posted there. Some of our exclusive content. We have little fun games that we play. Our Patreon holds a lot of our behind the scenes stuff. Some of our exclusive investigations. I write spooky stories on there that'll keep you up at night. Grim loves those.
Fuck you. Yeah, Patreon is where you can get behind the scenes stuff. Over on Twitch, you can watch us play some spooky games. Which right now every Thursday night I am in the middle playing Afterfall Insanity, which the story is finally starting to make sense to me. I'm starting to get into the point. It's a really good action packed game. It's got at first confusing story, but now it's starting to actually develop and become a really good game. And Ray is playing No Idea yet on Tuesdays.
Oh, I actually know. I am going to be starting Tuesday a game that I love a lot that I'm going to be playing solo. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be extended. We're gonna be playing this for a hot minute because there's so much shit to unpack in this game, and I'm so excited, especially with the full release of it. I'm going to be getting back into 7 days, but I'm gonna be running it solo.
Ooh,
It's
seven
gonna be
days
fun.
solo. So you
Yeah.
guys can watch it over on twitch.tv/ beyond underscore the shadows. So check us out over there. And then what else do we have, Ray?
Aside from our really dope socials, we have our merch store.
Our merch store. Oh, how
Mm-hmm.
could I forget about the merch store? We have
Yeah.
through Streamlabs for the time being. We're selling some merch on there to kind of just let you guys have a little bit of merch from us. But in the near future, probably starting out the next year, we will be doing merch handmade by the one and only Ray Renee, which the quality is absolutely amazing. There's secret merch that you guys can only get when you do a live investigate, not live, but in-person investigation with us at a haunted location. So if we're in your vicinity, in your neck of the woods, and there's a haunted location that we're at, reach out to us, let us know. We will let you guys know either in Discord, Twitter, Instagram, what haunted locations we're getting ready to go to. If you want to join us on the investigation, you're more than welcome to join, and you'll get a cool piece of merch for free for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah,
last
which is
ones
really
that we
exciting.
got was Chef's Kiss, fucking amazing. It says "Boo bitch, I'm a ghost" on the front, and on the back is the new logo that I personally had someone that I know and trusted a lot to make the art, and she fucking killed it. Shout out to you, Kendra. You're amazing.
It looks amazing. I actually just found mine. It's in it's in here. I just don't have enough time to pull it out. So it's in here. Um and then lastly, hi. I'm a small business owner. I do have my own store. I make my own crafts. You could check me out at www.occultwonder.com. I make occult goodies, bookish treasures. I make some witchy stuff for beginner witches into intermediate witchcraft. I actually have some stuff in the works. So if you go to my website, I have a coming soon tab on my main page to show you what I'm working on. I do enjoy it. I love it. I love crafting. I love people getting excited about the things that I make. So definitely check that out. It's my baby.
All right, back to the episode, you guys.
All right, so we're ready to get into the exposing the horrors.
Yeah. My heart just literally hurts for everybody who had to go through
Yeah,
that place. That's horrific. Like
we're gonna.
we've read and we've discussed places, but like this history actually is making like this hurts and I cannot imagine.
Yeah, so we're getting ready to go into exposing the horrors of Pennhurst. The true extent of the atrocities at Pennhurst came to light in 1968, when the local news station aired a five-part episode on the asylum. The investigation revealed shocking conditions. Residents were malnourished, restrained, and subjected, as we just talked about, to physical and emotional abuse. Not only that, I guess that with the overcrowding as well, still, it's emotional abuse too, because people are evil, and being neglected causes emotional abuse.
Oh yeah. I can imagine the mental state was,
It
you
was
know, equally
rock
as
bottom.
bad.
It
Yeah.
was under the dirt. The mental state in that place was under the dirt, not even just rock bottom.
Mm.
In 1981, Time magazine further highlighted Pennhurst's history of understaffing, filth, and violence. By 1983, 9 employees were indicated for abusing patients, including those in wheelchairs and forcing residents to fight each other. So now we have a fight club going on at Pennhurst. That's messed up beyond right there.
Yeah.
The Haldeman case in 1904 marked a turning point. This class action lawsuit, filed on behalf of Pennhurst residents, argued that their rights had been violated. U.S. District Court Judge Raymond J. Broderick verdict confirmed the horrific conditions at Pennhurst. Nothing, nothing overcrowding, understaffing, and lack of essential care programs. He highlighted the use of seclusive rooms, physical restraints, psychotic psychotropic drugs as measures to manage the inadequate staffing levels. That's the horrors of what happened inside during their time as a asylum.
Mm-hmm.
Hauntings at Pennhurst Asylum. Now we're in the nitty gritty, what we all came here to hear about. What are the hauntings at Pennhurst Asylum? The oppressive and abusive environment at Pennhurst left a lasting imprint on the facility and its ground. Today, the asylum is a hotspot for paranormal investigations and ghost hunters seeking to connect with the restless spirits trapped within its walls. Staff and caretakers frequently report eerie occurrences such as slamming doors, disembodied footsteps, and voices echoing through the empty corridors. One of the most frequently seen apparitions is that of a little girl, seemingly lost and confused, wandering the campus. The sounds of children playing and crying are commonly reported, adding to the unsettling atmosphere. Most of the spirits are believed to begin seeking to communicate their stories to living. However, there have been reports of more sinister activities, including alleged instances of satanic rituals on the property. Oh, so we have a little girl roaming around lost and confused, sounds of children laughing and playing, disembodied footsteps, voices echoing through corridors, so probably screaming,
Mm-hmm.
hollers for help, and stuff like that, like imprint. So, one thing that I thoroughly believe, and I don't know if you do too, depending on how you died, you could leave an imprint where you died at. You can leave an imprint like on the bed that you died on if it's so horrific and you putting out that much energy, your imprint, which is Gettysburg, left a lasting imprint that at night people can see soldiers fighting still
Yeah.
to this day. It's just how bloody that battle was. It's an imprinted spirit. They're not. They don't know that you were there. They just
They're
reliving
reliving.
what they
Yeah.
went through.
Well, it's the same thing with residual energy. Living a cycle of like a memory essentially playing
Mhm.
out on repeat.
It's just the memory of how you died, which is horrific. And I would hope there's no day that I would ever have to do that.
Right.
After Pennhurst closed its doors on December 9th, 1987, the once bustling institution fell into a state of decay. Nature began to reclaim the building with vines and roots inter- intertwining through the structures as if they were trying to erase the memory of the horrors that occurred there. Inside, the hallways are filled with relics as of the past, rusted wheelchairs, old laundry carts, and layers of graffiti. The emotional weight of Pennhurst history is palpable. The residual energy of suffering and neglect permeates the walls, floors, and ceilings. Today, Pennhurst serves both as a haunted attraction and a somber memorial to those who endured the unimaginable hardships. It stands as a stark reminder of the past, urging us to never forget the lessons learned from such institutional failures. That's a lot. And I believe that it was nature trying to erase this memory. The vines and roots, the amount of bloodshed, the amount of negative energy in the area. It could have been nature saying, we got to do away with it.
Right. This is a place that has so much negative history and so much negativity in general that it makes sense that it would be a location that is as haunted as it is. It makes sense.
There's a lot more of known, or not known, we'll say known, of haunted things that's happened there on documents that we're not going to get into. One of which is King,
Mm-hmm.
who is a spirit known to walk. Which area again? Was it Mayflower?
I don't remember if it's the Mayflower building or not. I do believe it is. He's in the boiler room. Is usually where he's like where people usually experience him.
If you're going around and you're in the boiler room of one of the areas, one of the set buildings, and you smell cigar smoke, that's when you know it's King. That's his name.
And I know they do have more spirits that I think they have more information on or more recognition that are interacted with more. But yeah, King was the first one I came across.
Well, you guys, that was this episode. Thank you
My
guys so much.
my heart is heavy.
Yeah, it's definitely like feeling the weight on my chest because I'm just feeling the emotions of disgust and everything else just from hearing about it and reading it. It's it's a lot.
Yeah,
It really
that's a lot.
and when we go further into these episodes, there's going to be a lot of these episodes that it's untold history. No one really talks about anymore because people think letting the past die is a good thing. No, you need to learn from your past. Because if you don't learn from it, you're going to make the same mistakes.
Hmm. And that's another thing is that, not everything we put on here is happy, is, us laughing, having a good time. We have a lot of history and a lot of places with history that isn't great. It's not good. It's a lot of emotion, a lot of heartache, and they're things we need to talk about. So we're going to have moments where, like, we're both
It's
just,
real.
yeah,
It's real. It's genuine feelings that we're showing you guys because it's I'm trying to find the right way of putting this. We went into this knowing that it's going to be doing we're going to have episodes like this here where it's going to hurt reading it, and we wouldn't change it for anything because we want to help you guys learn the past as well,
right.
whether it affects us this way or not. Because like I said, I'm heavy hearted right now. My chest hurts
And I mean,
from reading this stuff.
it's also good to cover the history of places, especially like that we have our own lists of places that we would like to visit, just purely based off what we know about the hauntings.
And
But
we,
like,
we
and that's
want
what Pennhurst was for me. Pennhurst was I've seen stuff on the hauntings and the interactions that people get there, and it's on my list purely based off of that. I didn't know the history, and
I want to get the spirit's story. That's why the list that I have, I want to communicate with the other side and get their story from their mouth, per se. I want to talk with them and get their side of what happened.
in any way that we can, yeah.
That is the biggest thing for me. There is I want to communicate and get their side of the story and get it put out there. What happened to this person at this place? That way they can have their closure, letting people know what happened to them.
Yeah. It also helps knowing the history because, like, when we went to Whispers, um, learning the history of the place before you do an investigation, it changes how you investigate. Like, this isn't just we're trying to get evidence. This place is a story. The spirits that are here because of what happened,
Yeah.
and it changes how you investigate.
So I think our next investigation at Rhodes Hotel is going to be a lot different than what we did at Whispers.
Mm-hmm.
We're going into this with a more serious mindset of we want to get the history. Which stay tuned, Rhodes Hotel history is going to be coming up in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Excited for that one.
I am because yeah, I know literally nothing. Like I have family that have investigated there, but I don't know anything about that location.
But did they do the history of it?
I don't remember. I don't know if they did. I wasn't even really present when they went live for their investigation, so I'm like I'm going into this with I know a door slammed. That's all I know about this place. They had an interaction with a door. That's all I got. So I am
Oh,
looking forward to like learning about that one and
yeah,
really knowing.
we love you guys. Stay spooky. Do some research on if you do investigations. Research the places before you go. That way, you know what you're going into.
Yeah, and don't just look at like the interactions and the paranormal side.
Read the history
Learn
of the
about the
building
history.
or the land. See if it's a see if it was built on Native American burial grounds, because that can explain a lot of stuff that's going to happen. Stuff like that. Always research.
Yeah.
Which now I understand why my favorite paranormal channel. I'm not sure if it's Raised or not, but Twin Paranormal. They before they go into their episode, they go through the history of what happened, like a brief summary of what happened before their investigation starts on the videos.
That's also why I enjoy watching Project Fear, is they do the same thing. They have a whole like learn about the history and not just the paranormal side.
Yeah, stay spooky, you guys. Peace.
Bye.